I'm Hazel, it's Saturday today, which makes it time to sit down and catch up on the WoW news of the week, what I have been up to, and answer some of your questions. This week, Blizzard announced some more changes to Mythic Plus affixes coming in Season 2, this time aimed to, quote, further lessen the impact of affixes, which is something that many players have been vocal about. Bunch of changes listed here, I will link the entire post down below, but the top three for me. First of all, Explosive is just being retired. We were changing it, now we're done with it. Explosive is retired for Dragonflight Season 2 and being replaced by Volcanic instead, which was a pretty safe and uncontroversial affix. I don't think anybody wildly hated the volcanoes. They'd been fiddling with Explosive recently, trying to find an iteration of it that everybody likes, and I think this is just a case of the baby taking the bathwater and getting out of here. The second eye-catching change from this list is that bolstering will no longer increase the health of affected enemies, only their damage. Almost kind of turns it into a sort of a quasi-raging situation where you can still kill them just as fast, you just have to hope they don't kill you first. And then thirdly, speaking of raging no longer increases damage at all, instead granting raging mobs immunity to crowd control effects. It's worth noting that interrupts will still be possible. They initially weren't on the PTR, but Blizzard came in with a blue post and a hotfix, making it so that you can kick a raging enemy and they can still be de-enraged in the same way. The upside of changes like this is that de-emphasizing affixes kind of frees up players to focus on playing their class better, or engaging with the specifics of the dungeon that they're in better, or picking the perfect, Spotify playlist for their night. We're moving towards a world where you're never going to look at the affixes for a given week and then, pretend that you are not home that week. The downside, though, is that making affixes matter less carries the risk of not making dungeons too easy, because you can always do a harder key level and eventually there will be a dungeon that is too hard for your group. But making the different weeks of doing keys feel very similar, it kind of homogenizes the difficulty level across different weeks. And while that does mean that you're never going to have a dead key week, quote unquote, it also means that it's not as exciting when you get that great push week. It's a case of things getting better overall at the risk of becoming a little tiny bit boring. I'm curious to see how this works out, and if anything, they can see how the season goes and then take those lessons when they're designing their affix pool for Season 3. Other things this week, Noblegarden began, and there is a new toy this year. Collect 200 chocolates to purchase the Drake's Big Basket of Eggs. This causes your dragon riding mount to carry a basket of eggs in its mouth while in flight. The event itself runs for just a few more days. It's ending very soon, Monday, April 17th, so if you have not got this yet and you want it, get out there and start looting eggs. The good news is that Noblegarden eggs are now shared loot, so it won't despawn as soon as one person loots it, which means that you can actually kind of run around an egg hunt and there's going to be some. Other 10.1 news for the week, a couple little things for the patch notes. There's going to be a new no sniffin' toy that lasts for a week and prevents sounds from enemy noses, which is either like a nice accessibility change for people with misophonia that are sensitive to that kind of thing, or maybe there's a lot of nose noises in 10.1 that might get on people's nerves, or both. Just makes me wonder if perhaps there's a lot of nose noises in our future. And then they're also, in 10.1, changing up the in-game mail font to make it more readable. So here is a comparison of the current in-game mail font relative to what it's going to look like in 10.1. You should be well equipped to more clearly read the gold seller advertisements that are hitting your inbox. And I, looking at these side by side, am a little teeny tiny bit shocked that the old font made it this long. Holy smokes. Then, in my life this week, I am still solo shuffling. I'm 70% towards my mount, and it's lots of fun now that I've got my feet wet in it. I think now that I've kind of got most of my PvP gear together and I've kind of figured out some of the more glaring issues with my keybinds and UI, it's getting really fun. I would love to PvP through more of the season in Season 2. I started really late this time around, so I think I'm going to try and get in there a little earlier next season. And one thing that's better this season than it will be next season, because they're toning this down, currently you get just silly amounts of honor from doing solo shuffle, and I'm taking all that honor, I'm buying marks of honor with it, and I'm just filling out my backlog of druid PvP sets. I want to have every single one filled out because it's ridiculously fast to do so if you're just kind of queuing solo shuffle, and I'm working on the vicious mount anyways. It's been fun. And then questions for this week. Josh asks, I like the tech they made for Drakthir and Worgens to be able to shift into human form out of combat. I'd love a feature that took my helmet off out of combat and then popped it on when I entered combat. What do you think? That is a great idea. I know for a fact that they already have similar tech for this in terms of transmog because we have these Murloc sat shells. This was like a shop back piece of transmog that puts a little baby Murloc in your backpack, and they will hide inside their shells during combat and then come out once it's over. So it's already a thing that's technically possible. I would love to see armor shift in and out of like a combat ready form. I would love to see like visors coming down, helmets coming on and off like you're saying. There's lots of possibilities there that I think would be fun if they ever got into. And then Jody wants to know, concerning bag space, what are your thoughts on additional banking? Right now we have personal and guild banks, but with the addition of all the account-bound items, it seems they should introduce an account bank accessible similar to the guild bank chest in use. I can't believe I've never heard of this idea, or if I have, I just forgot it. I love the idea of an account bank. Not even so much because of the extra space, but just because of the sheer ease and convenience that you would have using it. I'm imagining picking herbs in my herb alt and just stashing them in like the account reagent section and then being able to craft those potions on my main without having to mail things over. I'm imagining leveling a character and getting a couple of recipes and green pieces of gear I want to sell, popping them in the account bank and then, you know, grabbing them on the auction house alt to sell them. I'm imagining having like a nice little stockpile of those account-bound Primalist gear pieces that I can just kind of keep centralized in the account bank and then, you know, pick and choose things on various alts without having to like, you know, one-to-one mail everything like a bunch of carrier pigeons. People were replying to this comment saying this is a feature other games already have, which gives me hope that maybe it's possible. And that's the best quality of life idea that I've heard in a long time. I think that'd be really cool. And that has been the week. We only have 2 more of these left to go before patch 10.1. Stop by a Twitch stream sometime to say hi if you like, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.